Hey, I enjoyed being out of practice for a couple of days and seeing some of those new transfer additions, especially the DBs. Can you kind of discuss what they add to the defense?
Well, I just think, size and athleticism. I mean, when you look at Rayshad Williams, he's 6'3", 200 pounds playing corner. Really smooth, man. Had an unbelievable day today, this morning in practice. And then, Malik Dunlap is another one. He's closer to 6'4", 215 pounds. Just the size, and then you sit there and you look at DeMarcus Fields, and you got Eric Monroe, and then obviously Muddy Waters from Duke, another guy 6 foot plus 6'1". So we've added a lot of size and I would say athleticism. Looking for Muddy to replace Tommy Leggett. And he's very very athletic, can cover. And just is, was a really, really good player, has a lot of really good experience, all of those guys. I mean, you're talking about Malik started the first 6 games of the season from North Carolina State. They win 8 games. You're looking at Rayshad started as a true freshman or redshirt freshman, I believe, maybe, at UCLA. And then Muddy was one of the top defensive backs in the ACC, and so I really like where we're headed in the back end.
Who are some of the young guys you need to step up to provide depth there
Yeah.
in the secondary?
Yep. Obviously, I moved Nate Floyd to cover safety. He's developing nicely. Kobe Minor is a young man that we have a lot of high hopes for. And I tell you, another guy that's off to a great start, and having a good spring is Adrian Frye. Is playing well. I mean, he really is. I was proud of him. I mean, he's had 2 really good days the last 2 practices. I still consider him a young guy. Those are the ones that pop out to my mind right off the get-go. But we got to continue to build depth in the back end for sure.
Go to Leah Doherty.
Hey, Coach, just looking at some of your returning leaders on the defense, guys like Colin Schooler, Rico Jeffers, how have you seen them progress over this offseason? What steps have they been taking to get to that next level?
I think Colin Schooler, I mean, probably the biggest difference I see in him is he's changed his body. I think he's down to 10% body fat. It was quite a bit higher than that when he first got here, and you can just tell he's so explosive. I mean, I thought he was a good player a year ago. Man, he's a really good player now. I mean, he is so explosive. I'm excited about him. And, really the whole linebacker group. The other young man that I think, Brandon Bouye-Randall, I mean, he is finally showing that God-given talent that he has been blessed with. He is really, really having a great offseason, a great start to spring. Rico, obviously coming off an injury is helping me coach those guys, and with Kaz, I mean, we're trying to develop and bring those guys along. Obviously Merriweather's a physical presence in the middle. And a big Cheetah, he's still trying to recover from the season, I think. He moves around out there like I do. But he's a really, really good player, and I love where we are there. And then, some of the younger guys, Josiah Pierre, I mean, he was off to a great start and had a little setback yesterday, but the kid's 6'3", 242 pounds, and can run. Man, I'm really excited about what he can develop into. So I really like some of the depth that we have at linebacker, as well as the size and athleticism.
Yeah, specifically, where do you want to see this linebacker group get, right? Spring, summer, and then heading into fall?
Well, I think we just want to I think we got to shore some things up. Obviously, a year ago, when you just look at total yards, if you just took Big 12 conference play, I mean, we went to 5th in the league from 10th. So that was obviously, but I think we can even take a bigger stride. I felt like that our run fits were a little bit loose at times, and a lot of it may have been, we're sitting there. And maybe playing a little bit conservative from the Texas game on, because we were honestly trying to invite Texas to run the ball. So, I mean, I think that will be a big improvement for us. So I want them to really develop, tighter run fits, and we put a major emphasis on that the first 5 practices, just being physical and tough, because we have the size and athleticism. Our guys have really changed up front, from Ty Wilson to Nelson and Banasaur and Jalen Hutchins and Tony Bradford. Devin Drew, all those guys are changing their bodies, getting bigger and more explosive. I'm excited about the depth up front. Philip Belidi. I think that we can really make it tough on people to run the football, and if we can make the same improvement in the back end that we made a year ago. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, I was just sitting there looking at some stuff here just a while ago. I mean, we went from 10th in every single category in pass defense in the Big 12. We went from 10th to 4th in yards allowed. We went from 10th to 2nd in yards per pass attempt, 10th to 5th in pass efficiency defense. So, I mean, if we can make that same stride, our goal is obvious. We want to be a dominant defense. I mean, we do. I mean, we want to be the best defense in this conference, and that's what it's going to take to position ourselves to make a run at winning a championship.
Go to Eric Kelly.
Coach Wells, when we talked to him, I think last week, just mentioned how much smoother it seems like things are going this spring ball than even last year in the practices that you guys did get. Does it feel the same way for you as well? It
does. I mean, it's hard to explain to people who don't live in this this bubble that we so-called live in. I mean, like last year, what those kids went through. And when you're trying to transition, we've left the university one spring to go recruiting, and what you're starting to see now is the people that we have brought in. You hear the coach use the word culture. I'd like to use what are the characteristics that define us, mental toughness and discipline. And now, I mean, I think one of my defensive coaches said it best today. He goes, the things that I was dealing with the last couple of years compared to what I'm dealing with now. I mean, you're talking about, hey, pull your mask up in the study hall. I mean, compared to some of the issues we were dealing with. So it is different. It's different in every regard. I mean, it just takes time. It's a process when you're trying to change something, and there's no doubt. I can tell you this. I mean, where we are right now and where we were 24 months ago, 18 months ago, 12 months ago, it's not even in the same hemisphere.
Talk about Malik. When we were out of practice last week, even when he wasn't able to practice, you could still see him coaching up guys. Outside of what he just brings in his value on the field, what kind of value does veteran experience bring home? Yeah,
I mean, you can't even describe it. I mean, you're talking about guys who are coming from Power 5 conference universities that have experienced success, and these guys are coming here and they have a great deal of confidence, and they're just trying. And every one of them that we have brought in, man, they've been productive. I was just sitting here looking at some things earlier. I mean, from Colin Schooler, 63 tackles, Eric Monroe, 60 tackles, 5 TFLs apiece, Zach McPherson, nearly 60 tackles, Jacob Morgenstern and Brandon Bouye-Randall combined 65 tackles, 32 and 33 apiece. I mean, like Tyree Wilson. I mean, what these guys have done for us from a maturity and from just a performance, and they've raised the standard. They've created competitive depth at every position. All of a sudden you're sitting here looking around and go, like, I'm better than this guy. And then all of a sudden, oh man, it's 6'6", 280-pounder shows up. And, so we've created competitive depth. And the thing that we've done that has been remarkable is Muddy Waters Muddy and Colin Schooler are the only two guys that have 1 year of eligibility. The rest of these guys, Malik Dunlap has 3 years of eligibility. Rashad Williams has 3 years of eligibility. Josiah Pierre has 4 years of eligibility, and the guy's in his 3rd year of college. So, I mean, we got a guy that's been in college starting his 3rd year. He graduated early and went into school at the University of Florida as a freshman in January. Now here he is in March in his third year of college, and he's a freshman. So that's what has me excited. Tyree Wilson, obviously, has multiple years of eligibility left. So that's been the biggest thing, is just to bring in older guys who have experienced and been there and done that. And what I love in dealing with those guys and getting them to buy into and come help us change this culture is, man, there's really no recruiting. It's almost like making a business transaction. I just tell them, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Okay, here's how you're going to be coached. Here's what you're going to be the expectations. You want to be a part of that or not? And it's either yes or no. I mean, so you don't have to sit there and try to blow smoke, and convince someone that Texas Tech's where they ought to be. It's been really a good thing for us. And then obviously we're still recruiting the young men that we're trying to train and develop, and it just allows us, for those guys, to see how you prepare, and it allows us to sit here and put those guys in the weight room and develop them.
Go to Sam and then back to Jarrett.
Hey Keith, you talked about that depth. How much better is that depth on defense compared to what it was when you first got here?
Well, I'll just put it to you like this. I mean, like coming out of the first spring, I mean, I knew Jordan Brooks was a talent. I knew Rico had played some, but that was about it. I mean, I'm sitting here like going, I don't see anybody else right now. Honestly, I'm just going to shoot you straight. I didn't see a lot of people that I felt like we could win football games with. So, I mean, now you look at it, I just named Josiah Pierre, Rico Jeffers, Colin Schooler, Jacob Morgenstern, Krishawn Merriweather, Brandon Bouye Randall, okay, Patrick Curley, Ty Matthews, okay. I mean, I can sit here and go on and on and on. I mean, so I feel good about that group. Then up front, I just listed, I think, 12 guys. I'm looking to add one more. So, I mean, you're looking about 13 guys, and I would say out of that 12 guys right now, we probably have 10 that we can put on the field. That first year here, I mean, obviously we had Broderick, we had Eli, and then everything else was a question mark. So, I don't know if but that's pretty much what it was. I mean, and it was that way almost at every position. So that we were very, very thin. We're still not close to where we need to be depth-wise, but I think we're a heck of a lot closer than what we were.
And you had mentioned earlier, obviously you want to be a dominant defense. How do you define that in 2021? What are the things that you rely upon as measuring sticks to quantify if you guys are indeed meeting that standard?
I think the biggest things I've like I've told you guys before, I mean, the last 6 offensive coordinators that I've worked for, Gus Malzahn, Chad Morris, Dana Holgerson, Mike Norvell, David Jost, and now Sonny, okay? They all hurry up, no huddle offenses, all right? I embraced that. So what I did was we had to swallow our pride back in 2006 and 2005. We were the number 1 defense in our conference, 21st ranked defense in the country in 2005. Not sure where we fell in 2006. Not sure where we fell in 2005 nationally. But all of a sudden, here come Gus Malzahn, and the wheels fell off. I mean, we're sitting there. I mean, we couldn't stop air, and so we had to change the way that we not only measured success on defense. So that's what we did. So we basically built a blueprint, okay? And it boils down to, number 1, we're going to create negative yardage plays. Number 2, we're going to force takeaways, and we're going to force 3 and outs. Then we're going to we've changed it. Quit looking at the total yards per game. I mean, you have to look at yards per play. I mean, like I was just saying, I mean, we went to 5.5 yards a play last year. I believe that was 5th in the Big 12 in Big 12 conference play. Our goal in 2005 and 2006 was 3.5 yards per play. I mean, and so you see how the game has changed. So we've also led the Big 12 conference in number of plays played on defense the last 2 years. Okay, so the final thing that we measure is red zone scoring defense. We did a 2-year study. One team, Stanford, has blocked more field goals and forced missed field goals or PATs than us. We're number 2 in the country over the last 2 years in forcing missed field goals, and so that's been our philosophy. Play great red zone defense, okay, which means we want to force field goals 60% of the time, and we're not only just going to force them, we're going to block them. We're going to try to block them, and I really believe there's a direct correlation in the effort that our defense gives on that play. We don't take a play off. We don't surrender anything, not 1 point, and our kids have bought into that philosophy. So Paul Randolph is in charge of our PAT field goal block, does a phenomenal job with it. So that's kind of where it is. So that's kind of how we measure our blueprint is negative yardage plays, third down defense. We want to get off the field 70% of the time. We want to force 6 3-and-outs. We want to force 3 or more takeaways. We want to force 9 negative yardage plays a game. And I guarantee it, if I sit there and I look at that blueprint on Sunday, and if we've hit 3 or 4 of those, we've given ourselves a chance to win. But the yards per play speaks to explosive plays, and that was basically the difference from our first year here, okay? About the last 6 games, we just gave up way too many explosive plays, and this year we didn't.
Go Jarrett, and then we'll finish with Don.
Hey, Coach, as you mentioned, you return a lot of veterans up front on the defensive line and at linebacker. I'm curious, where is the pass rush going to come from? What players do you expect to bring a consistent pass rush, and what positions?
Yeah, I like, that's why we've always, based out of the odd front, I've always felt like that I can recruit second-level players that we can force fits. I know that we're really putting a major emphasis on bringing 3 and 4 a lot more in certain situations. I think that if we can rush 4 on third down and get off the field, that's going to be great. Typically over the course of the last 15 years, we've been pretty aggressive at opponents on third down. But right now, from what I can tell, I think Ty Williams is going to reach some of that potential that he has as a pass rusher. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger, he's more explosive. I think Nelson and Banasaur, once he gets fully back, is going to be a guy that can impact the quarterback. And I've made a move where I put Tony Bradford inside. He's a load on at that zero nose. Him and Jalen's athleticism, they're both big and powerful and lift every weight we got in the room. So I really like what I see from those guys inside. And then, we got to continue to develop ways and we got to be sharp and, in attacking protections, whether it be personnel or schemes in the way we got to be more calculated.
Go to Don to finish up.
Keith, following up on something that you just said, you said Tony Bradford moving to the zero. Are him and Jalen flip-flop switching or just
yeah.
the same?
Yeah, they're playing the same position. We can, obviously we're dual training Tony, but he can move in there. He is a powerful human being in there at nose guard, just like Jalen is. I mean, they're both explosive. They're both extremely quick, and it's really strange. I mean, when you just move somebody from over the tackle and you move them down over the nose, it's amazing how much quicker and explosive they look. If you put him out there in a 4 or a 5 technique, I mean, he just looks like a guy. You move him down into a zero nose, and all of a sudden, I mean, he just looks athletic. He's explosive. I mean, all of a sudden he's sitting there and he's coming off and he's pounding you in the face, and then all of a sudden now we're moving him, and it's been, he has really popped off the video this spring. And I mean, matter of fact, Sonny mentioned it to me yesterday or last night. I mean, it's just I think that's going to end up being a good move. And if we can get both those guys, if they're playing 35, 40 plays a game, they're probably going to be a lot better player than playing all 70.
So then at tackle, your first guy and second guy are who?
Well, right now we got Ty Wilson and we have Devin Drew. I think Devin Drew, man, if you really watch the film, the last 4 games of the season, he may have been the most improved and probably maybe the most active defensive lineman we had up front those last 4 games. He really, from the TCU game through the Baylor game, through the Kansas game, I thought he just got better and better the more that he played, and he's just carried that right into spring football so far. So I'm excited about those guys for sure. And then Philip Belidi, I mean, he's just like a bull in a china closet. I mean, he's big, he's powerful. Once he just learns and understands the game, he's going to be a load for people. And then I'm excited to see Nelson. You know, he had really changed his body. He's probably 280, 85 pounds, but yet still athletic. And I'm excited to see what he develops into as well.
I guess then following up, so at the end position,
Yeah.
your person.
Okay, yeah. At end, we got Ty Wilson and Nelson and Banasaur, and then I tell you another young guy that's going to develop into a really good player is LB Moore. He's having a great spring. So those three at end, and then over at tackle, you've got Philip Belidi, you've got Devin Drew, and then also we can play Tony Bradford at that tackle position.
And I was also going to ask you. You mentioned Rico a moment ago, kind of helping coach, so to speak. From the time he walks in the building each day at practice, so what's he kind of doing? I assume a lot of and just kind of mental reps.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah. I mean, he is like it's like I tell every pro scout that I talk to, he's the most intelligent football player I've ever coached. I mean, at linebacker position, I mean, he is an extremely smart football player. And so he spends a lot of time, you know, just over here studying and mentoring these young linebackers. And, I mean, he can just sit there and tell you he knows the adjustments. He's it's actually good for us, him being out, because it's almost like everybody's looking around. You know, he makes all he's talking on the field. I mean, it's incredible to listen to him when he's out on the field. And when he's not, everybody's just kind of sitting around looking at each other, drilling on each other, waiting for Rico to make the call. And so, I mean, it's like and Schooler may be 1A as far as being the next smartest football player. I mean, those two guys are quite the tandem, and they do a nice job helping develop those younger guys. They move and they stem. They understand, you know, how to create and show false pressure and things like that. So, yeah, and then he's obviously over here rehabbing quite a bit, Don.